Oh, la 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 la. Three, two, one.
You're listening to Uncle Sam Saves America, a patriotic show for the average Joe.
You ever find yourself just wanting to tune it all out? Angry shouting on the news, the toxic posts scrolling by, the nasty, venomous stuff on TikTok, Twitter, and everything else that's going on out there. The political pundits bashing each other, podcasters and influencers hating on each other. Kind of makes you want to just write it all off as noise. But what if it's more than just noise? What if it's seeping into our lives, raising the temperature so slowly that we don't notice it until it's about to boil over? Truth is, hateful language has been used by politicians for ages, and it's not just rhetoric. It has direct, real-world consequences that are affecting your safety, your relationships, and your health. Today, let's talk about all the different ways that political hate speech is secretly damaging your life, your relationships, and what you can do about it. We all feel it, the growing tension in the community, even with our own families. But to understand the real cost, we have to define the problem. What exactly is political hate speech? Well, by definition, it's language that dehumanizes and demonizes people for their beliefs and or political affiliation. But it's rhetoric that says you're not just wrong, but you're evil, you're corrupt, you're a threat to the nation. And it's not about debating policy, it's about questioning the other side's very right to thrive, to participate, and even to exist. And it's not just a fringe issue. According to a late 2025 Gallup poll, large majorities of Americans think both parties have gone too far. Roughly 69% say that this is about the Republican Party, and 60% say the same thing about the Democrat Party. Of course, neither the Democrats nor the Republicans see their own rhetoric as extreme. They'd rather point fingers and lay the blame and exemplify the problems that are with today's culture. They make fantastic leaps in logic, too, and in evidence, by immediately polarizing you, right? Are you a Republican? Then you must be a fascist. If you don't support Israel, you're a Nazi. Support the Palestinians, you're a terrorist. And we're trapped in this feedback loop, right? And it's amplified by social media influencers and the mainstream media and all of the echo chambers, right? The two sides are practically living in two different realities, with hate being the only bridge between the two, right? In fact, a Pew Research Center report found that 8 in 10 U.S. adults believe that Republican and Democrat voters just don't disagree on policies, but they can't even agree on basic facts like science. And this isn't just a political problem, it's a societal breakdown with hidden costs that go far beyond the ballot box. So how is this secretly ruining your life? Well, it's because this kind of thing spreads like wildfire, and it has three major impacts you might not even be aware of, right? The first impact is the threat to your physical safety, all right? This language is fueling real-world violence. I think we've all seen that by now, and that's not just an exaggeration. It's a documented pattern. And when leaders use language that dehumanizes the opponents, it almost acts like a permission slip for the public to resort to violence. It almost sounds like a call for violence. But the public sees clearly, right? A staggering 82% of voters believe that the way people talk about politics today is contributing to the violence. Nearly 2/3 of Americans point to inflammatory rhetoric from our leaders as a major cause. And since the 2024 elections, we've witnessed a disturbing surge in political motivated violence, from the riots in LA to the attacks on ICE officers in Chicago. Critics will say that far-right extremism has accounted for the largest share of political violence, but after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the increase in violence against federal agents, the pendulum was kind of swung back the other direction. In fact, 79% of voters think that we're in a political crisis. And it's not just high-profile figures at risk either. We hear a lot about them on the news, but the danger is also hitting close to home, with steady increases in threats against local public servants like school board officials and election workers. All of this has created a climate of fear that destabilizes our communities, where online hate spills into real life. It's a society on edge, where political disagreements can feel physically dangerous. Beyond the physical threat, this constant state of political warfare is poisoning something much closer to home, the ones that we love, right? Researchers call it affective polarization. And the definition of that is not just that we disagree on policy, it's that we've grown to genuinely dislike, distrust, and even hate people on the other side. Megyn Kelly recently told Ben Shapiro that his rhetoric was going to breed anti-Semitism, the very thing that he's fighting against. She caught a lot of flack for that, but she's not wrong, right? When you're accused of something long enough, eventually a rebellion seed kind of sets in and you say, well, screw it, then, I hate those blank, 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 whatever, right? And I'm not immune, I've felt it too, right? I'm guilty of shooting off my mouth in response to something ugly, and I'll bet you are too, right? We're human beings. I have no idea how many times I've called someone a Marxist or a communist this year, right? And it just goes to show how quickly and silently that hate can creep in, even when you're aware that it can happen like I am. It still can creep in. Constant vigilance. It's crazy. It's the reason family holidays feel like we're walking through a minefield. It's why lifelong friendships have ended over a political candidate or a social media post, right? And this kind of thing, it erodes our ability to connect with other people, okay? When we're constantly told that half the country is our enemy, it kind of becomes impossible to see people as citizens, neighbors, or family. We retreat into our little bubbles, and our beliefs are never challenged, and our biases are always confirmed. And this leads to a profound social isolation that is severing community bonds, right? And these community bonds are essential for a happy life and for a functioning society. But right now, we can't even agree on basic scientific facts, like if a man is a man and a woman is a woman. How can we solve any real problems in the world, right? We've lost this ability to have difficult conversations and to remain civil with people who disagree with us. Finally, the most insidious impact of it all is on your health. It's damaging your body from the inside out. The constant exposure to anger, to fear, to outrage, it's a significant source of chronic stress. A 2023 Pew Research study found that 65% of Americans say they feel exhausted when they think about politics. Another 55% say they feel angry. And that's not just mental fatigue, it's an actual physiological response, right? When you're constantly bombarded with threatening language, your body goes into the fight or flight mode, and the system gets triggered over and over and over, and it becomes a chronic state. And it's fueled by the 24/7 news cycle, and it takes this devastating toll on you, right? Chronic stress, okay, it cascades into a plethora of negative outcomes, including things like anxiety, depression, a weakened immune system, sleep disorders, anger issues, right? That knot in your stomach whenever the news comes on, that's not just happening inside your head. It's your body responding to a physiological threat, right? Political hate speech is a contributor to the toxic stress that is, quite literally killing the country. If you're finding this analysis valuable, consider following us on Rumble. We break down what shapes our world 3 times a week. So if this is the damage that's going to be done, what can we do about it? How can we minimize it? What can we do to mitigate it and cut it off at the pass? I know it can feel hopeless, and we can't, single-handedly change the national political climate, right? We can't even make the guy next to us shut up. But we can reclaim our own lives, and we can reclaim our communities, and we can take all of this poison and hopefully minimize it and bring it down to a manageable level, right? And there's 3 different concrete steps that we can take to do that. First, is to starve the outrage machine, right? Starve the grift. I'm sure you've seen the hashtag for that all over the internet, right? Starve the grift. So much of this toxic rhetoric is actually a business model, okay? It's designed to provoke these reactions. It's designed to get clicks. It's designed to keep you angry. And the single most powerful thing that you can do is refuse to play the game, right? Refuse to respond and share an inflammatory post. If you are going to share a post, fact check it and make sure that it's true, right? And limit your exposure to the media and social media and all of the influencers out there. Starve the grift, right? Hashtag starve the grift. By refusing to reward this outrage with giving it your attention and your strength and your power and your voice, you can take all of that away by simply just scrolling on past it, ignoring it, right? Don't live in it. The second thing we can do is we can rehumanize the other side. See, the goal of hate speech, like I said in the beginning, is to dehumanize and demonize people. And the antidote for that is to rehumanize them, right? And this means actively fighting the urge to see millions of people as a single enemy, right? I'm not suggesting that everybody sit around the fire holding hands singing Kumbaya. I'm just saying avoid, responding to hate with more hate, okay? And what you do instead is you ask questions, right? If you're being assaulted, if you're being condemned, if you're being called a Nazi, a fascist, or whatever the case may be, right? Try asking questions, right? That reverses the narrative and puts the attacker in the position to defend their own rhetoric, right? Rather than keep on attacking. You might also try understanding their side, see their viewpoint. Maybe try focusing on shared values like wanting a safe community or wanting to have a good future for the children, instead of all the divisive political debate and BS that goes on with it, right? Another thing you can do is to re-engage locally, right? The national political stage is huge, it's big, and most of us as single individual people can't affect it that much, right? But you have real power right where you live, right? If you get involved with local groups and you work on problems that are real problems, concrete problems like, a park cleanup or a local food bank or, assisting the homeless or some kind of school board committee or something like that. When you work toward that kind of goal and you're working with other people, a lot of times the political labels can kind of start to fade out and kind of start to drop off, and you can start to see people as human beings again, right? You can also support and vote for local leaders who set good examples in the community and lead by example, right? A good, healthy democracy isn't built from the top down. A good, healthy democracy, a good constitutional republic is built from the ground up, right? In our own neighborhoods and in our own towns, right? The rest of them, they work for us, okay? But we have to have a good, solid foundation. What's the final take on all of this? Well, the temperature in our country is dangerously high, right? I mean, the constant noise is designed to make us feel angry, helpless, alone, but we're not, and we're not powerless, right? By refusing to be pawns to this performative outrage, right? In this machine, we can rebuild our bonds in our communities, in our own neighborhoods. We can restitch our national fabric by doing that, right? The problem is huge, but reclaiming our daily lives, our personal relationships, and taking care of our own well-being, that's a powerful act of resistance. That's the most powerful act of resistance that we have. Anyway, thanks for listening.
You're listening to Uncle Sam Saves America, a patriotic show for the average Joe.